Hi Tribe, I am so excited for today's interview, right? I am sitting with Kim Potgieter, and she is an expert and certified financial planner, an author and speaker. And I must tell you, as you will see from the interview, she is very passionate and energetic when it comes to talking about money. And I always love it when women can freely talk about money in this way. Kim, thank you so much for joining me today.
And thank you for having me.
So, we are talking about money mistakes women do or should avoid. And I went onto your website, and I'll link the ebook below where you can grab it. And you actually have an ebook talking about a whole list of things that women are doing wrong when it comes to money.
I think just to start off with, I just want to say these are not just things women do, because when I was putting the book together, and I did it for Women's Month last year, I put it together to help women, but not to say to women that I believe they're making all the mistakes and men aren't making the mistakes. So that's just my disclaimer to start. But I really, maybe it's because I'm a woman, but I have a great, it's a calling in me that I want to make it easier for women. And because they don't want to talk about money and they think it's for somebody else to worry about, that's why I wrote the ebook for them. But I'm not saying that only women make these mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just maybe go back. One of the things that you studied is clinical and industrial psychology. Do you think it gives you a bit of an edge when it comes to understanding people and how they manage their money?
Absolutely. So I'll just give you a little bit of background. I was at university studying that, and then I was going to become a psychologist. And while I was doing my honors, I was doing my prac, and they told me on the prac, you can't give advice. And I went, hang on, I can't give advice. Now, there were two things for me. I couldn't give advice, and then the second one was that who goes to see a psychologist about their relationship with money? And the reason I was becoming a psychologist was to help people with their relationships with money. And that's when I realized, actually, if I was a financial planner, people would come to talk to me about their money. So I could combine the psychology with then I went and studied the finance part. Yes. And actually that way I would be of a lot more assistance and help to people than them, because most financial planners are not comfortable to talk to you about your relationship with money. And I don't believe you should be investing money, you should be doing anything until you've come to terms with your relationship with money.
Yes, and I think that is so important. But now, even before we get here, why was it so important for you to discuss money or get into the topic of money? What was it about your upbringing, about yourself then, that compelled you to want to study this?
Because it has to compel you.
Yes,
absolutely, absolutely. When we've normally got a pain, we go through our own healing. And when we're going through our own healing, we have all these amazing aha moments. And then you think, well, what do I do with this? Yes, I can help myself, but potentially there's a whole lot of more people that I can help.
There's a whole lot of me's out there.
Whole lot of me's. Yeah. And a whole lot of me families. I mean, my family was dysfunctional around money. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked and he brought in all the money, but he controlled us with money. I mean, my story is a little bit extreme in the sense that, my dad used to have the deep freeze in the garage, and the garage was locked, so we couldn't get to the meat. Our telephone, but it's the olden days, we didn't have cell phones. Our telephone was locked, but we learned with a hair clip how to unlock it because we shouldn't use it. And then if we were watching TV in the day, he used to come home to complain because we, with the electricity.
The electricity bill.
Yet I was going to a private school. My father was driving a fancy car. So it didn't make sense. And my childhood was with my parents fighting. My mother going shopping and using a calculator to check she was going to have enough to pay. Then my father arriving home with lavish gifts for us.
Sure. So the contradiction.
Always a contradiction. And then hearing them fight. And then I started going, at first I blamed my mother. I said, well, why is she allowing my father to do this? And only as I matured and I grew up, I realized that my father was using that as control over her.
Yes.
And more people that I was meeting had these stories and had gone through pain around money. And I was thinking, why have some people got so much? Some people have got so little. Some people see it as scarcity, some people see it as abundance, and that was where my fascination came. And I'm a learner, so I went out to study it.
Oh man, that is so brilliant. And for me, you know, I was saying to you earlier that sometimes when you are looking at someone, I've seen quite a lot of your interviews, and I knew that you saw money more than just as numbers. You know, most financial planners or financial advisors, it's about product at the end of the day. But with you, I really felt like, you know what, there's something deeper than just, okay, this is advice, this is how it is. It's more than just a box. I have questions here, but we're just going to go through them as...
Maybe I could just say one thing.
Yes.
I mean, you say, it's numbers. But actually, money is just a number of stories. Because for all of us, from our childhood, we've developed all of these kind of beliefs around what money is. And most of those beliefs are not actually that true. And because we, as people, don't even understand, number one, that we have a relationship with money, we don't delve into it. So we kind of blindly go through life, working with a budget and working with how much we've got and worrying about money and worrying about it if we've got it, if we don't have it. We're always worrying about it. But we never take a step back and say, like, why? Why is all this happening?
What informs my relationship with money? What informs how I manage money? And this is what I always say as well, that you cannot expect how we grow up. Our environment shapes how we see money, how we view money, and how we manage money. And most of the time we go through life on autopilot. We don't really know why we do what we do. For example, I know some people say, my parents never just had money. They did not have money growing up, and I knew that once I start working, I will lack for nothing. And that will even drives people to debt, because you know what, I just have to have what I have because I didn't have growing up. So it informs so much of our decisions. But you spoke about something, and it's one of the questions here. How does a stay-at-home mom start managing her money?
That's a hard one, because you're not earning anything.
Yes.
But how do you get to be a stay-at-home mom? It's normally, as a couple, you decide that one of you are going to be a stay-at-home mom. So for me, when you as a couple decide one of you are going to be a stay-at-home mom, I stayed home for 6 years. I did. When I had my second child, I stayed home to be able to really spend time, and I wanted that. And my husband and I sat down, we discussed it. But what was important for me then, because of my past, remember that past is always haunting you and coming, making you make your decisions. I said to my husband, but I still want to be paying into my investments. I will stay home, but I want to be paying into my investments. Because what happens with a stay-at-home mom, the husband goes out to work and he carries on contributing to his investments. He carries on growing his pension fund, he carries on growing everything. The stay-at-home mom takes this full-on sabbatical from everything. Contributing to the money and that part of the house. And also, but they're adding so much value. They're bringing up the children, there's a beautiful home to come home to. So you need to just reallocate the money so that you also are still contributing to your investments in equal proportions, because you're doing equal work, because you've made it as a couple decision that you're going to stay home.
So, okay, let's give it a practical example. So my husband is working, I'm a stay-at-home mom. He's contributing 5,000 towards his retirement. What should we be doing?
So again, I mean, you need to look at it from a tax perspective, because obviously tax also comes into it. But I think sometimes people want to be ruled by tax. So that, they make all their decisions around a tax decision. I mean, I watch clients in death making all these decisions, and it's so that they can save tax. But what they do is they leave behind a family that, can't deal with some of the decisions because we could save tax. So you've got to take all of that into account. But so for me to give that kind of advice is quite difficult, without seeing the whole big picture. But my advice would be high level. Let's look at dividing that 5,000, let him contribute, to his, a lesser amount, and keep one for you. Because, I mean, that's really important, because you turn around and you say, okay, tax makes sense that he contributes it all to him because I'm not earning any salary, because that's what we what we do. But what happens if we get divorced one day? And then all of a sudden his has grown and mine hasn't. And then, it all also comes back to what marriage contract you married in.
Yes.
So if you're married in antenuptial with accrual, you're fine, because that will all get corrected one day if there is a divorce. Okay, so you also need to, all of these things. So that's why when I do interviews like this, you can't really give advice without seeing the whole picture. Because if you're antenuptial with accrual, it doesn't actually matter. But say you'd got married without accrual, it really does matter. And then those decisions become way more important. But I think it's a little bit more than that. It's even when you are that stay-at-home mom, it's that you don't have to keep going to your husband to ask him for money. Because that also breaks our confidence.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it actually wrecks our relationship, because the only time we're talking about money is when we're asking for it. And none of us like that place. Absolutely none of us.
Painful.
So I think deciding I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, and then say, okay, so of the salary, what part are you going to pay, of your salary, are you going to pay me as a salary?
Yes.
So I can go out there and do those things of buying the food and doing this, and if I want to buy you a gift, there's still money to buy you a gift. So we don't change our relationship, and I think it makes our marriage much stronger, because when one is always asking the other one, it changes. And I don't know if you can resonate with that.
Absolutely. And I did a video a couple of weeks ago about the lessons I learned from my mom. And one of the things she used to say, don't let a man buy you absolutely everything. Even if they could, yes, but still have that to yourself where you can do things for yourself. And I think it really is talking to this. So how soon should people start talking about money?
You're talking about to their children, or?
No, to themselves. Like in their relationship, how soon is too soon? And when should you really start talking about money with your partner?
So let's just go to ourselves. Our relationship with money, and this, when I did my research, I was blown away, shocked by this, is formed by the age of 7. By the age of 7. And when I meet people, they say, well, when should I start talking to my children about money? When they're teenagers.
You're kind of late then.
But late, because you know why? We're watching our parents. So as you're watching what they're doing, how they're doing it, and that's how you're forming your whole relationship with it, your idea of what it is, how it fits in. And so the example is everything. Pocket money is important, because if you teach a child how to work with money and that it doesn't grow on trees, because what we do as parents, and our number one mistake we do, is we're an ATM. We just provide it when our children ask for it, but they don't understand where it's coming from.
Yes.
They don't.
And now even more in the age of cardless, cashless payments, so they can
online, it's just all happening. But what did you have to do to get it?
Yes.
So that's we can chat a little bit more about that. But coming to your question as well. So it's forming. So you as yourself, okay, should be just looking around and trying to work out for yourself, where did yours come from? So when you meet somebody, to understand where theirs came from, because no two of us have had the same life.
Absolutely.
So what I find is we come into a partnership and we come with our baggage, and we come with our own beliefs and our own reality, and then we decide that my perspective is the right perspective. And yet our partner's got a completely different perspective.
And they're probably thinking the same thing.
Exactly. The discussion should happen, I think, really early on, because and it's not in a place where you're fighting. Number one reason we get divorced is because of money.
Yes.
So talk when we're in love.
When things are still good, when you can still really enjoy one another.
And start having those real conversations, because you're not pointing fingers at each other. It's just part of curiosity.
Yes.
Getting to know each other. So where did your memory come from?
But what about shame then? So let's say someone is in debt, right? You love this person and you figured out, potentially this is the person I want to be with. What if they are in debt? Should you just run for your life?
Look, Mamala, we know when we're in love, nothing will get us to run.
Really?
No, I think if our relationship starts with truth, I think that's number one.
Yes.
Of course you don't want your partner to be in debt. Of course you don't want to start your relationship there. But I know most of us, when we're in love, we kind of discard that.
That we'll work it out.
We'll work it out. But I think it is even more important then to have a longer
Yes.
engagement, if it's
Yeah.
an engagement, or a longer time where you're living together
Absolutely.
before you're getting married and you're working it out. Because if it's important for you to be financially well positioned in life, and you're with somebody who doesn't want to change their habits and doesn't want to change their behavior, they weren't going to. So again, I mean, I often get asked, what advice would you give? And you can only teach somebody something when they're ready.
When they're ready and they want to be taught and they want a different reality for themselves.
So it's like saying that. I mean, you can't change that person. If they were in debt once, they're probably going to get in debt again. So you actually want to watch them change the behavior, I would say, before you commit.
Absolutely.
And you're married.
Absolutely. So ladies, when you're watching this, take your time. If your partner is in debt, try sort the debt out before you get married.
And see that they're keen to sort the debt out.
Yes, absolutely.
Because otherwise, again, you spend your entire life looking after your money. They spend their entire life being in debt. And at the end of the day, it neutralizes each other. So you're fighting all the time about money, and it really, it's tough, that fighting about money.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, and it comes to values. It's the discussion that I always encourage people to have. Check in on each other's values.
Yes.
Like, what is your guiding light? What is going to be important to you? And if you can, you'll never have had the same personality. You will never have had the same experiences. But I do think you need alignment in values.
Absolutely.
And if you've got alignment in values, you can normally work through most of the stuff.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So now let's get back to women. We've done relationships, okay?
We keep doing relationships. I know. I mean, look at us. We're typical women.
Typical. Let's get back to you, women, watching this.
And lots of single women that aren't in relationships.
There we go. And are happy and doing wonderfully for themselves. All right. So one of the things you mentioned is that we don't talk about money. Why is it that women don't talk about money? I want us to focus on women. Men watching this, you're more than welcome, but we're going to focus on women today. Why don't we talk about money?
So it's been a taboo topic. And let's go back to stereotypes. We have all these different stereotypes of what a woman is. And it is changing.
Yes.
My generation and your generation, completely different. I work a lot in the retirement space, so I'm seeing even a different generation. I'm seeing a generation where it was expected to stay home and look after your children. My generation, most of my friends, we all work, we're breadwinners, and we have successful relationships with money, we have financial planners, and I think your generation of being younger can even be more successful than our generation with money. But that said, there's so many stereotypes that come in, and it starts with our dads. I mean, you just got to, I tease my husband because of my daughter, and I look at the way he treats her compared to the boys, and I say, don't do that. She's you can't treat her like that. And if she's going to think her dad's going to come and sort everything out, potentially one day she's going to think that her husband's going to sort everything out.
Somebody's going to come and save me.
And she's got her mother in the background going, don't let that happen like your mother.
I was about to say, this scenario sounds like my dad, even to this day, thinks I'm a baby.
And I was with him yesterday.
He means well. He's just the most loving person. And my mother is the sounding board. Complete sounding board. She'll get in there. No, that's not going to happen. No, wait. So definitely,
So I think we as women should look for good role models and make sure that we actually are prepared to actually help other women as well. I don't know what it is about women, but they are not as helpful with each other as I would like them to be. And encourage other women to have better relationships with money. And I think when we get together to be able to have these kind of discussions, my most robust, good discussions have come from with my girlfriends, where we've stopped each other short and said, but why are you allowing that to happen in your relationship? So we are trying to break stereotypes. And I think if we all break these stereotypes, it won't be just that women don't want to talk about money. Women will want to talk about money, but we're breaking the stereotypes. When I entered the industry as a financial planner and I looked around, there weren't that many women financial planners. But, I've been in the industry for over 10 years. Our industry is growing in women. In my company, we're more women than men.
I saw that coming in.
and we all talk about money all day, every day. And I think it's just for us to break those stereotypes.
All right, so now let's talk about investing. Do women really invest? Because I find that I will speak to someone, let's say June 2020. 2021 June, I speak to them, oh, but it was so much, I was so confused. Why do you think we get paralyzed from all the information that is out there?
So I think because, again, I've done a lot of work with Dr. Brené Brown.
Yes.
And her work is all around perfectionism,
yes.
shame, vulnerability. Us women, we like everything to be perfect. So we spend our entire lives trying to make us perfect. So we do the same with investing. We better learn it, we better understand it, we better know everything, and when we're perfect, we'll get the investment. And because we are hard on ourselves, we never get to that perfect point. So we spend so much time gathering information to get it perfect, and we don't do it.
And we just never do it.
And we just never do it. So for me, that would be my first thing, is stop having to be perfect at it. Just start it.
Yeah.
Another thing, as women, we tend to want to look after everybody else. I mean, as much as I want to say we're the same as men, there's a nurturing part to us that a lot of our money goes to pay for. Even if we don't have children, we're paying for everybody else and other things, and we want to be helpful. And it's a wonderful trait. But you need to put yourself in that equation. And like, what money are you putting aside for you?
Yes.
Are you looking after yourself? And for me, that's what investing is. Investing is paying yourself first. And I know we share the same philosophy on that. So if you can pay yourself first, and then not being too conservative. So women are ultra conservative.
I was going to talk about risk.
Yes, no, we don't want any risk. So we're so scared that someone's going to rip us off, and we're going to be proved wrong, that we tend to go into cash and we go into investments that are ultra conservative. We need to take a little bit more risk.
And especially when you're young.
Especially when you're young. I mean, but even my age, I mean, I'm now in my 50s. I am going to live till 100.
Yeah.
I must be taking risk. My money's
That's a
got to
long
last.
time.
I mean, when I meet these people that are going into, conservative investments because they're getting older, and I'm saying, but why? You're going to be living so much longer. Your money can't keep up with inflation. So I think you've got to educate yourself enough that you're comfortable with the risk. Because that conservative thinking is actually not helping you. But I do find a lot of women can be brilliant investors. And that's what I think it's so important that we will realize that as women. And it's because we're not as ego-driven. So we ask for help. So if you get a good financial planner, and the financial planner is helping you, and you're listening to them, and you're not coming in and out of markets, and you're not listening at the bride to get this share's better.
It's
and this
correct. Yeah. I always say, if you're hearing about it, it's probably too late.
Absolutely. and we as women, you know what I mean, we can block out that noise.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of times
because
I see with
the
men,
goal, you can marry your investment with the goal that you have, and say, okay, I know my goal, I know that I'm in the right investment for myself and what I'm trying to achieve, so I'm not going to listen to every single person coming along the way telling me about a hot stock.
Exactly. And that long-term investing with that compound interest is what's making your investments grow. So that, for me, women do really well. And I think we just need to recognize that we do it really well. Because, again, you come back to women, and what do we do that we shouldn't do? It's I speak. So we go, I'm so bad with money. I'm not good with money. You know what? When I was at school, I wasn't good with maths. I just don't do money. But if you don't do money, then at the end of the day, what are you saying? That you're not going to focus on it, you're not going to give it attention.
Yes.
If you don't focus on it and you don't give it attention, guess what? It doesn't grow.
Yeah.
And then you turn around and say, well, now I don't have. So we have to change that we speak. I'm good with money. I know about investing. I mean, and what I don't know, I'm going to get help.
I'm going to ask, yes.
And I'm going to stick to my plan. So, I mean, that would just be a few little things that I could add.
All right. So you spoke about the fact that we are not afraid to ask for help, but it has to be the right type of help that you're asking for. I know, as a financial planner, you're a good financial planner, by the way. Like a financial planner. But there is a massive difference between financial planning and sales. And in South Africa, unfortunately, we get salespeople.
Our industry.
Yes. So How does one go about finding the right financial advisor for them?
And it's not an easy one. It really
It
isn't
isn't.
an easy
It
one.
isn't.
I mean, there's a big thing that you should deal with a professional. So I always encourage people, look for a professional, not a salesperson.
Yes.
So normally, how they remunerated. Because if you're remunerated by commission,
I'm more inclined to sell
what I need to sell, or what's going to give me my biggest salary. So I think you need to ask some questions.
Yes.
How are you remunerated? And if it's by commission, I think you need to understand how the commission's working. I mean, there's some good financial planners that get commission, but make sure that they disclose what they're getting and how they're getting it and who they can give you. And the second one is that they're a certified financial planner, that they've actually studied it.
Yes.
For me, it's a profession. I have a degree. I've studied it. I get all my points every year. I see what I do as a profession, whereas some people see it as a sales, as a way to sell something. They could be selling cars, they could be selling
anything. I mean,
insurance.
it doesn't matter.
So for me, that's a big one. But for women, there's something else. And always, for women, it's we want to resonate with the person. We want to like them.
Yes.
Like, I want to know you get me. I don't want to feel judged. I don't want to come and you deal with the money and you go, you should have done this, and then you should have done this, and I can't believe you did that, and then I'm going to feel this small. So I want to know you get me. And in order for that to happen, I've got to connect with you.
Absolutely.
So for me, that's incredibly important for us as women. And just, one final one for women that's important. There's got to be a connection between the money and life. Because I don't invest for my money to get more money and more money and more money for money's sake. What I invest for is so that I have freedom to be able to pay for my children to go to private schools, to be able to take my children on the holiday, to be able to, for myself to go and do the courses I want to do.
At the age of 50, go take a sabbatical. That's my dream.
Well, exactly.
Travel the world.
Exactly. But you know what? When you've got to go without stuff in life, when you're so much younger, you go, I'm doing it because I want to do my sabbatical.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I want this. So if it's just numbers, okay, and it's just investments, you go in one time and they tell you got 500,000, then the next time you've got 1 million, unless you know what you want to do with it and the reason, and that's why I say it's all about a number of stories. So you have an idea of why you're doing it, then all of a sudden there's the connection. Yeah. And then we're way more interested in it. We put in the discipline, we put in the hard work, because we know what it is we're trying to achieve.
It gets more exciting the more you see that, okay, I am reaching that goal. I'm going to honor a sabbatical. Just marrying those two, I think, is so important.
And that's where, I mean, having been a financial planner, I'm sure you can resonate with this as well. When you're talking to a young person, we've got a lot of young women listening, and you go, you must save for retirement. You must save for retirement. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all,
okay, fantastic.
I'm never going to retire. I'm so young. What do I care about it? Yes. So you've got to make it their language. So, I mean, I'm a big one for vision boards.
Yeah.
I love vision boards. I do vision boards with my clients. I do vision boards with anybody that knows me.
I love you. I love you.
And every year I say, do your vision board. Know what are you trying to achieve. And now you'll understand what money you need to put away and why you're doing it, because that's the vision you want for your life. You don't want to have a life that everybody else intends for you. You want to have a life that you want.
For you. Yeah.
But most people can tell me what they don't want and not what they do want. And I think, so for me it starts with that,
Sure.
you know, like get that vision clear.
Powerful. That is so powerful. We all know what we don't want, but we never really focus on what it is that we want. So how do you get what? Oh man, okay.
Just when somebody comes to see me and then I'll say to them, so tell me, what do you want your next chapter to look like of your life? And they go, oh, I'm so scared. How am I going to answer? I haven't thought about it. I said, don't worry, we'll take time, we'll work it out. So most of us have got into such a bad habit of living on a hamster wheel, just surviving, but not thinking about what it is we really want. So for me, that's why this connection between life and money, I don't think you can look at life separately to looking at money. So that's why for me, investing, you've got to be looking at why you're doing it. And then all of a sudden, you can stick to those habits.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. So if you're a woman...
I'll try answer.
No, I know you've got the answer. If you're a woman and you're watching this, your financial life is really just a complete mess at the moment, and you're looking at this and you're thinking, maybe there might be hope. What would be some of the first steps someone can take? And I will tell you why. In the beginning of the year, I did a video about a year of sacrifice can make all the difference, right? How about you take a year, you sacrifice, and you do major changes, and you live the rest of your life comfortably? What would your advice be if people just feel like, you know what, I'm stuck. I have no idea what my next chapter is. I've been in debt for so long. You know, you have control over these things. What would you say?
I think my first thing that I say to people when they're in that situation, because there's many people in that situation, you know, people have come through this COVID period. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people had to go into their savings. So there are a lot of people sitting in this position. So my first thing is to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, you know, you can take a year and you can go without, but we also just have to be kind to ourselves and to see it as a journey. My biggest lesson, it was a book I read called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
I'm reading it right now.
It's one of my favorite books, and I have to go back to rereading it so often because what he's saying in there, and it was an aha moment for me, is we need consistency. So when we have this idea and we want to change everything all at once, we often fail and then we feel worse about ourselves. So for me, it would be that you need to make small changes, and as you're making the changes, then you make another one and make another one, because it's like most of us going on a diet.
Yeah.
We're going to lose 10 kilos and we haven't lost 10 kilos in 3 weeks. Guess what we do? Give up.
Binge eat. Give up.
Yeah.
I can't do
so
this.
I want to say the same to people that are listening about their finances. It would be, let's look at small changes you can make, and once you've made the one change, then put another one on top of it, then put another one on top of it. But you need to come clean with yourself, because most people don't even want to come clean. They do their calculations in their head, and we are brilliant at lying to ourselves. And I say this with love.
I have always said that. Be honest with yourself. It's you and you alone. Why are you lying to yourself?
And we do.
Yeah.
So it's actually getting pen and paper, or if you want to do it on your laptop, you can do it on your laptop. I find it therapeutic to write it all down.
Stuff down.
Write down exactly how much you owe on your credit cards. Write down exactly what your bond is. Write down exactly what money you do have. Come clean. What it is that you spend every month. Know what it is. Okay, then it might be, this is so overwhelming. But now you need to item by item go through what changes you can make. So that for me is one big thing. But another part you need to do is you're your greatest asset.
Yeah.
So you need to say, okay, I've come clean with where I am, but I need to look at myself. How do I grow myself? How do I find ways that I can be a better version of myself so that I can earn more income, or I can find other ways of earning an income? Because at the end of the day, if we keep thinking, how do we spend less, spend less, spend less?
Scarcity.
Yes, it goes so scarce. So it needs to work together. You know, there's a balance between it. How do I build myself up? How do I see that I can potentially have other streams of income coming in? Because when you can get that right, that's when that person can get through the year and can come out a different person. But they have to be kind to themselves and they have to love themselves, because if our confidence is down and we've got all this debt, we go worse and worse and worse.
It's a vicious cycle.
And then we can't come back up. So I try and say to people, you know what, there's a parallel life. You don't have to do it all at once. Let's make the incremental changes. Let's bring consistency in, and I promise you'll come better.
Yeah.
But don't overwhelm yourself that you can't move forward.
And also, I think just in doing those small things, you build your confidence as well, that, look at me, I've completed this one. I've been consistent with this one thing. And perhaps then I can take on another thing. I think
I've been doing it with running. So I've always had this thing about wanting to be a runner. And from Atomic Habits, I'm going back to Atomic Habits. I am a runner now. And I get up and I run, even if it's winter, even if it's raining, because it's been like a thing for me alone. And I've seen how I can do it. So I say to people, I know they can do it with money. Yes, my relationship with money I worked on when I was younger, so I've had a good relationship. So I had to work on something else. And I do believe that we can all do it as long as we believe in ourselves. And if our confidence is so bad and we're in that more anxious, depressive state, it's double as hard to just get to where we've got to get. But sorry, go back to the vision board. Have the vision board so you know what you're aiming towards. Sometimes I call it, like, it can even be a vision board that you think is so far-fetched that you absolutely, those hairy, audacious goals. But subliminally, you're looking there and you're going, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm going without. That's why I'm making these changes, because that's where I want to get to.
You know what, Kim? It reminds me, so I have my net worth calculation on my wardrobe, right? It's massive, okay? Because also I have a vision board. But even though it is audacious, it is big, but somehow it just filters through even my decision making. So what car am I going to drive? Will it get me closer to the net worth that I want? Will it get me closer to the type of life I want for myself? So I definitely think, and I agree with you, that it filters through. Even though it might seem massive, though it might seem big, it does help to have a vision board and make it audacious as well.
I agree with you. And you're not judging yourself. So if you don't get it in a year, you don't go, oh, I'm a failure.
No, absolutely. I have my vision board from 2 years ago. Some of the things haven't happened, but I can see myself
7 years later.
Absolutely. Some things will definitely happen quicker than others, but I think it's just about having a bigger picture and saying, okay, what am I doing every single day to make sure
what am I working towards?
Absolutely. So one of the things you mentioned is women must have a what if account. What is that? So you're married, you're happily married, and things are going well. Why should I have a what if account? I love my husband, Kim. Why must I have a what if account? Oh, I must say, I do believe in it. I do believe in what you're saying, but I just want you to explain to my audience, because sometimes
it doesn't mean you don't love your husband.
Yes.
And I often, because I've come with a lot of baggage, and when I'm in my relationship with my husband, and I think he thinks like I don't trust him or whatever, and I say, that's not it. I want you to know that I'm here because I want to be here, and not because I have to be here. And so many people that I meet are in relationships because they have to be there. And I would like to be in a relationship with somebody because I want to be there, not because I have to. So my what if fund is there not only if my relationship doesn't work, it's maybe my job doesn't work out and I need to upskill myself and go and study again. My what if account is there if anything I needed to move towns. So I think we need to look at it differently. It's not something against our partners. Absolutely not. For me, that shows more love because at the real terms, I'm choosing to be there. And I think as well, what I don't, when I see couples, sorry, we're coming back to couples, is when we put all the responsibility onto one, where the one person has to be responsible for everything and making sure that the wills are done and that all of that stuff's done. And people don't want it, but do it together.
Yeah.
Do it together, and again for you, us, your listeners, get all of that stuff sorted out, because then you don't need to worry about it. I do a lot of talks, and when I do talks, I often ask, how many people in the audience have a will? And people don't have wills. I'm not going to ask you.
No, we do have a will. Just that we have a small boy. He's 7-8 months now. We should have updated it now.
Yes.
We haven't.
Okay.
But sometimes life is happening, and you think to
so
yourself,
get yourself a will with a testamentary trust in, please.
Yes. No, definitely we already do. It's just we need to update it to include the young man.
Yes, and it's so important when we've got a minor and they're dependent on us. But yes, it certainly is really important that we just take that time, and that fund is not there. It's because of the unexpected that happens. And life always, we can say, life's going to go according to schedule.
Please.
I mean, please.
Look,
the one thing that we know for certain is it's not.
Absolutely. And it's very similar to an emergency fund.
Exactly,
What if money. And I always say, don't look at it in a negative way, right? So I love what you said, that perhaps we get it as, if you had to relocate, now you have some funds that you can do that with. Or for example, let's say your husband wants to start a business and he's stressed out about, oh goodness, maybe I have to stay on for another 6 more months, but you have your what if money and you can sustain the family. So
it's freedom to choose money.
Exactly.
I mean,
it is freedom.
Yeah.
It is freedom.
So that's what all of those kind of funds are. And again, you know, when I talk to all of this, it's because we're talking to all different age groups.
Yeah.
And like we've said, when we talk about retirement funds, people switch off. And I want people investing in their 20s.
Yeah.
Because if you're not investing in your 20s, you're likely not going to invest in your 40s or your 50s. It's a habit. It's a habit that you're putting in place. So look at your habits, and if you only can invest 500 Rand a month, that is fine, but do so.
Yeah.
Because that habit will stay with you for the rest of your life, and one day when you can be doing a lot more, that's in place. And also you've learned the thrill of seeing how it grows.
Yeah.
You've learned to see what it can do, and it's the one place where you're not working time, because most of us are selling time all the time. I mean, all the time we're selling time, excuse me, but we're selling time, and now this is something that works while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
I got my first dividend just when I started working. It was 56 cents, okay? It's not a lot of money. But for me, the fact that I could be sleeping, doing whatever else, I got 56 cents for doing nothing.
Exactly.
For saying, okay, this money, I'm just going to put it aside and see what happens. And obviously it's grown over the years. And I always give my example about when I started working, I used to earn 3,500 bucks. And 10% of that I used to put in a Satrix account. And over the years, it has grown. And I think what people lie again to themselves, they say, I will start investing when I have more money. When I make 100,000, then, and it doesn't happen.
It's not going to happen.
You're not used to it. How are you going to start something that you have never done?
Because we live into what we earn, and that's the whole thing. So for me, I have a debit order on my account. I don't believe in investing what I have left. That whole thinking is backwards, because actually I pay myself first. So my investments go off first, then my expenses. And I think
for me, it's like you're honoring yourself, isn't it?
Exactly.
I honor myself for all the hard work that I've put in to make sure that even in my future, I'll be taken care of.
And actually, guess what? If I can't look after myself, I actually cannot look after everybody else.
Yes. Now, let us talk about retirement, because yes, I know for a lot of people think, oh goodness, it's going to happen. Okay.
Sooner than you think, I'm sorry.
There are two things. And I'm going to be very blatant here. There are two things. You are going to retire or die. And I don't want to retire and I don't have any money. Okay. So is retirement, because I think a lot of the times when you talk about retirement, it's centered around product. Right? How must I view retirement as a young person? And what will help me get there? So for me, my retirement, I'll enjoy what I do, and I know that I love producing, right? So I'll probably still keep on working, but it's because I want to.
Not because I have to.
Not because I have to.
That's
right?
a big difference.
I want to be able to, when my kids are older, I have 2 boys, to say, hey, what are you up to? Can we go to the Bahamas? You know, for me, that's the type of lifestyle I want. I love holidays, and I know I'll go on more and more and more holidays. So my money, why I'm investing, why I'm putting away money for retirement, is for enjoyment.
You know what? So I'll come to retirement, but I think when we're doing our investing, we need to be looking at different money, because some of our money should be long-term money that we're putting away for retirement, because we do need to earmark that money, because it is different investment. Because what we do is we have investments that help us with tax. So retirement annuities help us with tax.
Yes. By the way, if you watch this before the 28th of February, you can still top up your RA.
and it is important to use it, because why pay more tax than we need to be?
Then you need to.
So take your income into account and put it into your retirement annuity. But you know that money's gone. You cannot touch it, and you don't want to touch it until you're actually not earning an income anymore, which may be only when you're in your 70s. And so you can have that also as a goal, because you don't really want to be stopping work anymore at 60.
Yeah, or 55.
Or 55.
I mean, what are you going to do with yourself?
Please. So use those structures because they're really important from a tax perspective. And then also look at, so you're putting in, if you work at a company, let them have a pension. But this is what I also get really upset with people. They always take the minimum.
Yes.
So when they start a job,
I want all my money in my pocket.
Yeah. And then they
I will save myself. I will invest myself.
But you don't.
I never do.
So when your employee says to you, which box do you want to tick? Please do not tick the minimum box.
Because normally your employer also matches what it is that you
some companies just depend. Nowadays it's all changed, but so don't do that. And then also don't go into the most conservative investment because you're so young. So you know that your retirement is taken care of, so you're not worrying about it all the time. Same time, you're out there and you're studying and you're learning and you're growing yourself, so you have earning potential. Because one day when you're in your 60s and you could use something that you've done, you can be doing contract work, you can be doing something on the side where you're earning extra income. And also start setting up businesses where you can get annuity income coming in.
Yes.
And so when you think about retirement like that, with whole different aspects to it, it's not just, I have to put money into my pension at work, so I'm going to put money, they're making me do it. It's actually for your own good, but getting into just that mindset that you want to do it so that one day you're not dependent on other people. Because look, our government is not going to look after us. Most of us are not going to have people that can pay for us. So we need to look after ourselves.
And also, I think, especially if you're a parent and you really say you love your kids, it is a disadvantage for you to not contribute to your retirement or make sure that your retirement is sufficient because you're going to end up depending on the very same people that you're trying to give everything to while
they're younger.
So like it's that vicious cycle of black tax or family tax. Now your kids have to take, I don't want my boys taking care of me. Good God.
But then again, as you're saying, when you should be saving for retirement, what you're doing, you're giving it all to your kids.
Yeah, I love them so much.
So you're teaching them all this instant gratification.
Yes.
You're teaching them that they can have more and more and more. So then one day when they're then dependent on you. So I mean, as a financial planner, what I get to see a lot is parents that are paying for their children when they're adult children.
Good God.
So yes, you say you don't want to have to, to come to your children. So it's a likewise discussion. And it all comes also to being a good role model. So if I, as a parent, give everything to my children, then my children think one day that they have to do that with their children. So we'll always have this vicious circle. So having the discussions and saying the reason we're doing this is for one day so you don't have to look after me, or the reason we're doing this is so we can take that holiday. So have those discussions. Let your children understand that it's just not falling from wherever. It's actually, it's hard work, it's planning, it's thinking, it's getting your mindset right. And I think then we'll all live alongside each other so much better than us all just not talking about it, making it so taboo, and then wondering why we're all in a mess with money.
And I think it talks to one of the things, just as a last point, one of the things you mentioned that women or everybody basically does wrong is that we overcompensate with money. We overcompensate with money. Why is that?
Because money often is our love language. So I think so many times, and I know it's one of my big money mistakes that I do. I'm working, so I will overcompensate and give the children too much.
Get enough. I don't spend enough time with them, so let me.
And I think you need to assess is buying people things really showing them that you love them? Because most times anybody around you, and I'm not just talking about children, your spouse, your friends, you know what they want from you?
Time with you. Yeah.
In the meantime, we go and we work harder and harder and harder, and then we buy them things, and it's actually just spending time with them. So really, everything we've shared today is just having a real heart-to-heart, courageous conversation with yourself. And when you can do that, I do believe the little changes that you make, you'll all of a sudden just notice that money is enabling your life. Because what I aim for is that money is your servant. It's not your master.
It makes a horrible master.
Horrible
master. Kim, thank you so much. It was such a wholesome conversation. But what are the last few things that you want to leave our audience with? if you're a woman, you're watching this, regardless of where you are, what would you say about money?
I think find a way that money can be your friend. So if you can get into a place where money is your friend, I think it would be way more beneficial to you. And I think for me, what's also really important is that you take the time out to have these discussions, to find people that you want to work with, to talk to people about it, and not keep it as such a hidden thing, because the more we keep it hidden is the more it's owning us, and the more power it's got over us. And actually money is just a form of exchange that we've attached all these emotions to.
Yeah, tons of emotions.
Tons of emotions.
Tribe, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, give the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. And I am going to link the ebook to Kim's book, Money Mistakes That Women Make.
No, yeah, that's the one ebook, and then I've also got a book called Midlife Money Makeover.
Midlife Money Makeover.
Which also is a great book around this concept, which has got a lot of exercises in. Because again,
I
this
love
is a journey,
Okay.
and you do all of these exercises.
I love
I'm going to give you a copy today before you leave, and you do all of the exercises, and that also takes you on the journey.
Yes.
So that you can change
what
it.
I think I'm going to do, I'm going to take my copy, hopefully signed. What I'm going to do, I'm going to buy a copy when we get out of here, Pam. Then I'm going to give it away on the channel. We'll decide what the competition will be. But yeah,
that'll be great. And we've got a beautiful journal that goes with the book.
Oh, fantastic.
And then people can actually do the journal. I'll give you the journal.
I love books that have exercises.
Because no, you know what? You can read stuff. And if you don't do the work, you're just reading it for what?
You're just reading. You're just entertaining yourself.
You need to do the work.
Yeah.
Reading, learning without action.
Do the work. Do the work. Thank you so much, Kim. It has been so lovely chatting to you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Cut.